friends, I'm Sunil Desai and welcome to Galaxy Online Learning, a division of Galaxy Tutorials. So today friends we are going to study history of 10th standard state board. Okay, the chapter is chapter number 3, Applied History. So please open your textbook, page number 15. Okay, so we start with our chapter Applied History. Okay, now what is applied history? As the name suggests, applications of history in our day-to-day use, the study of the applications of history in our day-to-day life. Okay, how the history can be beneficial to the public, with the application, how they can be used in the public. That's why applied history is also called as public history. Okay, so applied history means applications of history for the benefit of the people, right? Study of. So there are many misgivings about history. Most of you students feel, then why should we study history? It's such a means I want to become an engineer. I'm not interested in history. Then how can history be of any use to you? Why should I study history? But these are all misgivings. Okay, see, history, the applications of history is basically what? History is all about the things which have happened in the past, right? So, and on the basis of what happened in the past, we always do some inventions or some all our life, like in culture, in our traditions, we follow our past and then we make certain developments. So, knowing our past is very important to look further in the future. Okay, so history is a very, very important subject and this history is applied in every field of our day-to-day life. That is why applied history is also called as public history. See, abroad there are many universities which offer various courses in this applied history, or you can call it public history. Even in India, the Srishti Institute of Art, Design and Technology, there is an institute in Bengaluru in Karnataka, okay, and this institute has an independent department named Center for Public History. So you realize the importance of history, okay? This department has taken up various projects and research in the field of public history. So, the knowledge of history is useful and it can provide guidance in finding solutions to contemporary social issues. Contemporary means ongoing social issues. Now, what is happening in the present, the social issues, we can have a solution if we understand the past. Okay? And we can incorporate them in social planning. So, the projects and programs related to applied history can create opportunities for people to participate along with technical experts. Okay, so there are different projects for conserving of heritage, what do you call it? Of heritage buildings and all, conserving and preserving those, okay, developing those heritage sites. Okay, in that you need technical experts. And this technical experts, they need people, common people to work with them. Okay, so it's always good. Even the technical expert, he may be an engineer, he may be a science student. Okay, but he too has to know about history. Okay, so see, the participation in the capacity of tourists visiting museums and ancient sites is also important. See, as tourism creates interest in history among people. They can volunteer to participate in the conservation and preservation of projects in their own city or town or village. When you develop an interest in history, you are naturally going to conserve it. When you come to know that in my town, this place is this has some history behind it, okay, then you feel proud of it. And then you try to preserve it, to conserve it. If you don't know history, why this place, what was the reason behind building this site or something like that, some other places, okay, then you just careless about it. When you come to know the pride, heritage, the proud, you feel proud about it. Okay, in my town this thing had happened so many centuries before, so you try to conserve it. Okay. Now, next topic: applied history and research in various fields. History is about the past event, whatever happened in the past. That's what we study in history. The way our present lifestyle is shaped is dependent on the historical chain of events. Understood? So, the way we are living today, it all depends on the historical chain which has happened in the past. Today, we are wearing Western clothes. Our Indian traditional clothes were not like this. But since the Britishers came into and started ruling India, we adapted their costume. Our costume changed. Okay? So, historical events led to various fields like politics, social and religious structure of a community, philosophy, technology and science, etc. Each of these fields have their own history of building knowledge. Okay, these are the different fields like philosophy, science and technology, social and religious structures. These have a history behind them. Okay, the direction of the future development in every field is dependent on the state of the available knowledge. See, how can you develop a particular field unless you don't know what had happened in the past? See, the past guides us. The past always guides us to think about how to make changes in the future. Okay. Hence, the method of history can prove to be of value in the research of various fields. Okay, now we are going to study these various fields. How the knowledge of history has become useful. Now the first example is about philosophy. See, now what is philosophy? Philosophy is the thought process, how we think about the society, about the world, about the universe. Okay, thinking about all this. That's the ideology. See, the history of the philosophy helps in understanding the origin of various ideologies. See, there are different types of ideologies you see around yourself. Okay, so how these ideologies originate, the intellectual traditions giving rise to these ideologies and their historical development. We get knowledge of this. How did the ideology originate? From where it came? Okay, how it developed? Okay, and philosophy, and for philosophy, it always needs a medium and to communicate, and that medium is language. So knowing the history of language, okay, knowing the history of language also becomes very important. The Marathi has been speaking. We speak Marathi for so long years, but the script was different at the time. The Modi script during Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj times, we used to have the Modi script. Okay, so if you want to have some knowledge about how Chhatrapati ruled, you want to understand what his orders or the decrees which you find in the museum, then you should understand that knowledge. You should understand the script of Modi. So, knowledge of the history of languages is also important if you want to understand the history, philosophy, the history of philosophy. So, everywhere history is very important. Now, the next subject is science. Okay. The history of science helps in understanding the chronological order of scientific discoveries, inventions and theories. Means when was a particular scientific discovery made, when was an invention made, when did Pythagoras give his theorem, how old it is, still we are using it. So, it can also help to understand the cause-effect chain that led to those discoveries and inventions. It also, see, when you know the history of a particular discovery or a particular invention, we come to know that the cause-effect chain, meaning what caused the discovery of it and the effect of that discovery on the common people. See, it is said that need is the mother of inventions. See, when you need something, you have a strong desire, you need something, what do? You start working on it to get it. And that results in an invention or a discovery. Okay? So, scientific discoveries, inventions are often the effects of human efforts to fulfill a need and also curiosity. So, how does discoveries or inventions come? Because the human being, what do? He puts efforts because he needs something. So, he's putting efforts to get it. And when he's working on it, he invents something. Okay? So, the what you call it, today we have a mobile phone, the telephone, because telephone was invented telephone was invented because because he wanted to talk with his wife. Okay, so that was his need. Talking with his wife was a need that led to the invention of a telephone. Okay, so knowledge of history of science helps in understanding the factors that facilitated a scientific discovery, invention, and also its chronology. Chronology means when things happened at such and such date, and after that what happened, which discovery came, and because of this discovery led to further discovery of this thing. See, from a normal telephone, which you had a cord, we came to cordless telephone, then we came to pagers, then we came to mobile phones, and now we have smartphones. Okay? Technology. Now let us come to the another field, that's technology. The history of technology helps in understanding the changes and their causes in the field of agriculture production, commodity production, architecture, engineering, etc. Scientific discoveries or inventions and technological advancement are mutually dependent on each other. See, science and technology always goes hand in hand. See, when there is a scientific discovery or an invention that leads to technological advancement. Okay, see, printing was first made by hand. Then, with some discoveries, it led to technological advancements, and today it has led to directly to digital printing. From mechanical printing, it went up now to digital printing. Okay, so the discoveries or inventions in science help to advancement in technology. Okay, knowledge of science and technology was very important at every step, from the making of stone tools to agricultural production in the evolution of man. Later, the advancement of science promoted the mechanization of production. Previously, production was handmade. It used to take a lot of time, consume a lot of man hours. Slowly, because of the scientific developments, it led to technological advancement. So now we can produce large in mass production. Okay. It is necessary to know the history of technology in order to understand the development of mechanization. So it is necessary to learn the history of technology, how it developed, so that we can understand how we have reached today and how we can go further in the future. Okay, now let's come to industry and commerce. The field of mutual social transaction expands with the growth of industry and trade. See, when an industry comes or when a trade starts, what happens? There is a social transaction, mutual social transaction. You go to a shopkeeper, you buy goods, at the same time you transact with him. Okay, there's a transaction between you and shopkeeper. The shopkeeper must be from a different state, maybe he must be speaking some different languages, and when your transaction starts with him, you start understanding his language, he starts understanding your language. You start understanding his culture, he starts understanding your culture. So there's a mutual transaction. So industry and commerce, in industry, people from different states, people from different class, caste, community, they come together and they are working. They are sharing their tiffin box, they are sharing their food, they are sharing their culture. So there's a mutual transaction. Okay. It also promotes continuous development of the network of cultural interactions. Okay. It is an integral part of the industrial and commercial management. It is essential to understand the history of this process, the nature of the market and commerce has continued to change. See, why we should know the history of industry and commerce? Because the way industry and commerce was going on in the past and the way it is going on in the present is changing. So you should know what was in the past so that you can make the changes. That you could understand the advantages and disadvantages of the past and you can make the corrections in the future. Okay? Previously, it used to order goods from the wholesale market. You used to have to go and get them, or you have to send a letter to the wholesale marketer to send you the goods. But now it's just a phone call away or a mail away. Now you don't have to go to the market to pay that person. You can send it by. So these are we should know how we can overcome those disadvantages. Previously goods used to take 8 days to come. Now they come within a day. That is because of communication. So we should know what was there in the past. So how can we change it for our betterment? Okay. To understand this development, it's necessary to study the history of culture, social organization, and economic institutions. So how economic institutions used to work before. So how can we change them for the betterment? What was the culture of the people in the past? Because industry and commerce means there is a transaction of culture, transaction of everything, of languages, everything. Okay. Now let's come to the study of management studies. In order to understand various factors involved in the chain of production, such as means of production, human resources, and process of production, as well as the chain of market and sales management, etc., it is essential to have a knowledge of similar functional systems of the past. See, trade, business was happening in the past too. The way it was happening in the past, we should know, so that we can make just the way I told you now, we can make certain changes in the future. Now, we should know management studies. It is essential to understand the psychological character of people working in the factory, working in the production unit, working in the marketing. You see, the person working in the production, what is the psychology? So, the management has to know from where they come from, what is their background. They should know the history of the people working so that they can motivate them to for more production. Similarly, they should also know the people working in the marketing field so that they can motivate. So, it is always essential in management studies also to know the history of how things were managed before, how the people working, the history of the people working in their factories. Okay? So, in order to achieve the understanding of the social and economic institutions that support the industrial and commercial process is important. Knowledge of the history in this regard makes the management at various levels easier. So, it becomes easy for the people at the management level to take decisions regarding their workers, their human capital. Okay? Next is arts. It is important to understand the development of various art forms with the help of their style of expression and their foundation in the form of intellectual, emotional, and cultural traditions. The key to the expressions in any art form, emotional temperament of the artist, and the developmental history of the respective art form can be understood with the help of cultural history. So, here again, history is very important. You should know the history of the dance form. You should know the history of the expressions, how they used to express. So all these things, this cultural history is very, very important. If you want to learn a particular thing, learn a particular art, you should know the culture of that art. Okay, so know the culture of the art, you should know the history of that culture. Then comes humanities. Now, what do you mean by humanities? Humanities include disciplines like history, archaeology, sociology, anthropology, means studying of human beings, how the origin of human beings, political science, economics, etc. This all comes under humanities. To understand the history of the origin of development of these disciplines, is an essential part of their learning. So if you want to learn this humanities, the different types of sciences, okay, if you want to learn archaeology, if you want to learn sociology, if you want to learn anthropology, you should know the history of all these sciences. All disciplines are supposed to have their origin in philosophy, your thought process, how you think. Ancient people all over the world tried to speculate in order to understand the relationship between the human universe and human existence. See, from long back years, we are just thinking about how we started living on Earth, how the Earth was generated, how this universe came into form. We have still not been able to find an answer to it. Okay, how human being came into existence over here on this form. It gave rise to various mythological stories about the origin of this world, the universal order, human life, gods and goddesses, rituals, and their philosophical explanations. See, there are different rituals. Okay, and we do it because we are told by our what? Our ancestors, they told you have to follow this ritual, so we just blindly follow them. But there was some thought process behind it. There was an ideology, why to do this ritual. They told us that this has to be done in a particular day. You have to do these things. You have to do the prayers. You have to do all the rituals, God's rituals or any other rituals. Okay, the traditional rituals, the cultural rituals. So we have to understand the history, what it really scientifically means. Then only we'll come to know what it meant. Okay. Roots of philosophical ponderings are to be found in these mythological stories. Various disciplines and the humanities have theoretical foundations based on philosophical theories. Okay, so these various disciplines of humanities have theoretical foundation means they have an explanation on those philosophical theories. Okay, only historical knowledge can help us in understanding these developmental stages. Okay. We can understand these developmental stages only if we have the knowledge of the past. So, history plays a very important part in our day-to-day life. Now, let us study about applied history and our present. People often ask about the practical value of history. Is it right? Many of you are saying why we should study history. The answer to the question about the nature of applied history answers this question as well. The visible and invisible relics of the past exist in the present. Okay. We nurture some kind of curiosity, attractions towards them. We don't know. We want to know this relics, how we are curious about it. Okay, and we are attracted to it. We wish to know more about their history because they represent the creative thoughts and traditions of our ancestors. It is a heritage. It helps in building our identity, and then we feel proud of it. History of our heritage links us with our origin, and everyone likes to know one's origin, right? Hence, it becomes necessary to preserve and conserve it for the future, for our benefit as well as for the benefit of the future generation. Applied history is concerned with the preservation and conservation of our heritage and make it accessible for the people so that people come to know about our heritage. Okay, and they start identifying themselves with this heritage. So when you start identifying yourself with your proud heritage, you really feel good. Okay, heritage management creates opportunities of employment. Now, if you want to manage the heritage, again you need people to work. Okay, to conserve it, to preserve it. So, what happens? Employment is created. People are going to work, they are going to earn money out of it. In brief, applied history can be described as understanding of a present. We are understanding of our present with the help of history of what had happened in the past and finding the right direction for the benefit of our future. So applied history, what does it do? It helps us to understand our present by studying our past and taking right decisions to move towards the future. Now, in this topic, management of cultural and natural heritage, let us see what do you mean by cultural heritage. It is the form of human creations. Cultural heritage is created by human beings. It is of two types, tangible and intangible. Now, what are tangible cultural heritage? This type of cultural heritage includes ancient sites, okay, buildings, means artifacts, manuscripts, sculptures, paintings, etc. These all come under tangible. Means you can see them, you can feel them. Okay. And intangible cultural heritage are like oral traditions and the language. You can't see a language. You can't, means it's told orally. You're not seeing that when someone is performing the tradition, then only you see it. Okay. Traditional knowledge. You can't see knowledge. Okay. Social customs and rituals of celebrating festivals. Styles of performing arts. Certain traditional skills. These are skills. Okay. Skills you see when someone is performing that skill. Skill as such, you can't feel that skill. You feel it when a human being is performing that skill. Okay. Communities, groups who represent such traditions, customs and skills. The second one is the other type is natural heritage. The concept of natural heritage gives importance to the thought of biodiversity, the different types of plants, animals. It includes the following things: fauna, flora, ecology and geomorphic characteristics which is crucial for sustaining the flora and fauna of a particular region. Okay, so these are natural heritages, the particular types of flowers, particular types of animals you see only in a certain place. That's the natural heritage. You don't see kangaroo everywhere, you see them in Australia. Right? The Bengal tiger you see here in India, in the northeast. So, these are the natural heritages. It is essential for the benefit of future generations to preserve our heritage. Otherwise, they won't come to know what was there. Okay? UNESCO, the global organization, has announced some directives with the objective of promoting the cultural and natural heritage. So UNESCO has made some directions that you should preserve the cultural and natural heritages in such and such a way so that it will be helpful for our future generations to understand them. On the basis of these guidelines or directives, list of sites and traditions are declared as World Heritage. So, on the basis of the guidelines of the UNESCO, certain sites are considered as World Heritage Sites. And the list of UNESCO's World Natural Heritage now includes our own Western Ghats, the Karst Plateau in the district Saudara. It is also a part of the Western Ghats, the Karst Plateau. Okay, they come in the World Heritage Sites. Now, at a glance, we'll look at the Indian traditions declared as oral and intangible heritage. Okay, cultural heritage. Now, in 2001, Kutiyattam, Sanskrit Theatre Kerala, then the tradition of Vedic chanting, Ram Leela, the traditional performance of the Ramayana in Uttar Pradesh, Raman, religious festival and ritual theatres of the Garhwal Himalayas. All these are considered as heritage. Okay. Kalbelia, folk songs and dances of Rajasthan. The Chow dance, a tradition from Eastern India. Mudiyet, a ritual theatre of Kerala. Buddhist chanting of Ladakh. Chanting means recitation of sacred Buddhist texts in the Trans-Himalayan Ladakh region, Jammu and Kashmir. Then Sankirtana, that is the ritual singing, drumming and dancing of Manipur. Then the traditional craft of making utensils of brass and copper among the Thatiras of Jandial Guru, Punjab. And in 2016, yoga was also considered as an intangible heritage. Now let us see the list, UNESCO's list of World Cultural Heritage Sites in India. So, which are the World Cultural Heritage Sites? The Agra Fort, which you see on every 15th of August on your TV, from where the Prime Minister speaks to us. Then the Ajanta Caves in Maharashtra, the Verur Ellora Caves, Taj Mahal, the group of monuments at Mahabalipuram, the Sun Temple at Konark, churches and convents of Goa, Fatehpur Sikri, group of monuments at Hampi, then the Khajuraho group of monuments, the Elephanta Caves, great living Chola temples, the Gangai Kondecholapuram, Bruhadeshwar and Airavateshwar at Darasuram, then the group of monuments at Pottadakol, Buddhist monuments at Sanchi, the Humayun's tomb at Delhi, the Qutub Minar in Delhi, mountain railways of India like the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway, the Nilgiri Mountain Railway, the Kalka Simla Railway, these are all World Cultural Heritage Sites. Then the Mahabodhi Temple complex at Bodh Gaya, the rock shelters of Bhimbetka, the Champaner Pavagad Archaeological Park, the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Terminus in Mumbai, the Red Fort Complex in Delhi, the Jantar Mantar in Jaipur, the hill forts of Rajasthan, the Rani Ki Vav, the Queen's Stepwell at Patan, Gujarat, the archaeological site of Nalanda, the capital complex at Chandigarh, and Ahmedabad, the historical city. These are all World Cultural Heritage Sites. Okay. And now let us come to the Natural Heritage Sites, World Natural Heritage Sites. See, we have them in India too. Kaziranga National Park, the Keoladev National Park, the Manas Wildlife Sanctuary, the Sundarbans National Park, the Nanda Devi and Valley of Flowers National Park, Western Ghats, the Great Himalayan National Park Conservation Area. Okay, along with we have Kangchendunga National Park. Okay, that's a mix. So, cultural and natural heritage monument is one of the main aspects of applied history. The work of conservation and preservation of the cultural heritage falls under the jurisdiction of the Archaeological Survey of India and India's State Departments of Archaeology. Okay, so who has to look after the preservation and conservation? A special institution is there, okay, which looks after the preservation and conservation of this World Heritage Sites. Okay, and I'd like to correct one mistake which I made. That was a slip of the tongue. Our Prime Minister addresses us on 15th August from the Red Fort. It was slip of tongue. I said it's Agra Fort. No, it's not Agra Fort. It's from the Red Fort complex in Delhi. Okay, sorry for this. The work of conservation and preservation of cultural and natural heritage requires participation of experts from various fields. They need to be duly aware. So, the experts who are going to preserve and conserve, they may be engineers, they may be technologists, but they also need to know the political history, the social history, the cultural history of that particular site. The principles of applied history are useful in creating the awareness among them. So, that is why where applied history comes into work. The operations necessary for the conservation, they have to do certain operations. Okay, conservation, preservation and development of the heritage site can be handled without causing any change in its original state. And there are certain guidelines. You can't change the heritage site, the sculptures, you can't change it. You have to keep them as they are, and still you have to conserve them. Okay, the local social structure and psychology of the local people, challenges faced by them in the present situations, and the expectations can be surveyed in detail. Okay. Due precautions can be taken to avoid hurting sentiments of the local people while completing the projects of conservation, preservation, and development of heritage site. Means while conserving a site, you also have to take into the sentiments of the local people. Okay, what they feel about that site. That's also very important. Participation of the local people in the project can be facilitated. So you can facilitate that the people working, because you need a lot of people to work when you want to conserve a site or preserve a site. You need people to work with it. So you can take part. You can ask the people, local people, to participate in that conservation. Systematic plan can be designed to employ the local skills in a creative way and create better opportunities of livelihood. So, those skilled people in that area whose ancestors may have built up that site, can't say, okay, you can use the local skills so that they get better opportunity and they can earn a livelihood. Affiliated professionals fields. Okay, knowledge of history can be supportive in the decision making with regard to respective legal provisions and public policies in the following fields. Now, which are those fields? Let's see. First one is museums and archives, preservation and conservation of historical sites, then tourism and hospitality, fourth, entertainment and mass media. Okay. So, here the knowledge of history can be supportive in taking any decisions. Okay, so here you see a clay tablet, the earliest museum in the world, which was founded in 6 BC. There you at Ur in Mesopotamia, there you see this clay tablet. Okay, the excavations were conducted by Sir Leonard Woolley. This museum was built by the princess of Mesopotamia. Her name was Enigaldi. She was the curator of the museum. See, and the noteworthy feature of that museum is the clay tablet inscribed with descriptions of the exhibited artifact. Means, see, in the 6th century, just imagine, before Christ, 6th century before Christ, a museum was found, and they have scientifically, on a clay tablet, they have mentioned the details about that artifact on that. So, just imagine, what today we think we are now more disciplined. We do everything systematically now, but no. Right before 6th century BC, that is before Christ also, a museum was found, everything was written. The paper was not available at that time, was not discovered at that time maybe. So on a clay tablet, it was inscribed what is the meaning, what about all the details of the artifact which has been displayed. Okay. Here you see on page number 28, you see the Indian Museum at Kolkata. The Indian Museum at Kolkata was founded by the Asiatic Society of 1814. Okay. This is a 115-year-old picture which you are observing. Nathaniel Wallich, a Danish botanist, was the founder and the first curator of the museum. Okay, the museum has 3 main departments: arts, archaeology, and anthropology. Okay, so there are 3 departments in this museum. Other affiliated departments are conservation, publication, photography, exhibition, presentation, model making, training, library, security. So just imagine a museum built in 1814. Okay, has all this department. Every field mentioned here requires, see, every field, that is museum and archives, or preservation and conservation of heritage sites, tourism, hospitality, entertainment, mass media, all these fields require expert personnel with specialized skills. For example, you need architects, you need engineers, you need historians, you need archaeologists, you need museum curators, you need sociologists, you need archive management professionals, you need legal experts, you need skilled photographers, etc. So many people you need. So just imagine how many people can earn a livelihood just by studying history. Because history is applicable. That shows how history. So this is the answer. This chapter is an answer for the question: what is the use of history in day-to-day life? Okay. The help of experts from many more fields is required. These experts need to have adequate knowledge of the ancient sites, the historical background of the structural remains and artifacts. Projects in the field of applied history can create various opportunities for these professionals. So, this lesson gives us an answer to why we should study history and what is the use of history in a day-to-day use. Okay, and with this we finish this chapter. But before saying bye to you, I would like to request you to subscribe to our channel Galaxy Online Learning. Subscribe to it and press the bell icon, so that you press the bell icon, you will start getting notifications of all the new lectures, okay, all the new videos which will be putting them on this site, okay. So you get a notification, you can watch those videos, you can share this video with your friends, make them subscribe to it, make them press the bell icon, so that they too get notification and they too get more and more knowledge of the different subjects of your 10th standard. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day.